Welcome to the second edition this afternoon for Iowa Pagan News on Prairieland Radio Network. And this is Pagan Artist Spotlight. And along with my co-host, Christy Mann.
Hi, guys.
We're also joined by Louis Garou. And he is a musician, singer-songwriter, living in the backwoods of Appalachia, and just a fantastic person. Thanks for taking time out there, Louis.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. When you reached out to me and was telling me about your new stuff that you've got coming out, and it's like, yeah, it was definitely time to have you on the show.
Thanks for joining us. How are things in that neck of the woods?
They're frozen. There's no traffic. There's no one moving. I don't even hear anything on the interstate. Where I live, unfortunately, I'm within earshot of the interstate. It's quiet, and
wow.
That's unusual. No helicopters flying. It's just everybody here is smart enough to stay home.
That's a good thing, actually. Is we're dealing with we're dealing with more snow here. Supposed to get to another 5 to 8 inches by tomorrow, so we'll see if that happens.
Well, it's almost over here. I just looked at the weather map, and it's almost over here.
Damn. Okay, so now with your new project that you've got going on now, you've already come up with several new songs. Now, when we were talking the other day, I think you said you're just going to make these to be going out online, and were you not going to be doing a actual CD this time?
I'm going to make some CDs. I'm not going to get a big production run of them because we just don't sell that many of them anymore. You know, if you go to an event, you might sell a CD or half a dozen, but most of the sales take place through Bandcamp, and it's more convenient for people to buy that way than it is to be carrying cash to go to events. And a lot of the events that I have gone to in the past are in places where you can't get cell signal, so you can't use a charge card to buy stuff. So it's cash or nothing. And
right.
I don't want to make it more difficult for people. I just want them to listen to my music.
Yeah, I understand that. So now, when did you get your start at being a musician?
I grew up. I'll age myself right now. I grew up in a household in Appalachia that basically the only thing I remember is Hank Williams Sr. and John Cash. I remember that, and I wanted so desperately to be like Johnny Cash. He was the coolest man there was, and that was back before he was cool. That was when he was just a country music icon that didn't sing or play like the other people. And so I got a guitar, and when I was 14 years old, I started playing bars. And I played around the East Tennessee area for almost 30 years. And
Wow.
and then I played. I took off for several years because I had a technical business that I ran, and I farmed, and there was no time for music. I mean, it was full time when I was awake working one or the other, and I got back into it a few years ago, and I never thought that I would be a working musician again. And since I started, I do better now than I ever did back when I thought I was a musician.
Well, I will say that. I will say that before we went online, Christy was listening to some of your music, and go ahead and tell him what you came up with.
I was impressed with it. It is like literally pagan Johnny Cash. I mean, the legend.
Well, thank you so much.
Pagan.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks, Earl.
Oh, you're welcome for
That's
that.
So
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
I was pleasantly pleased listening to that and just oh yeah,
it's
this is good.
it's 95%, 98% music from the heart. Every once in a while, I've got to push some things, as we were talking about earlier about those two songs that I would just as soon forget. But I don't think there's any musician out there that writes that doesn't have something that they look at and say, "Oh, I wish I hadn't have done that." I don't know. Maybe that's just a normal thing in people's lives that they look back and say, "I wish I haven't done that." But I'm very pleased with the response that I've gotten on my music. Um, I like a lot of my music. I love one or two of the songs, and it's personal. Most of the stuff that I write, it's not that I sit down and say, "Well, I'm going to write a song today. What am I going to write about?" I'm driving down the road, or I wake up from a dream and I write. And sometimes I'm not even conscious of what I'm writing, and it sounds weird to people. What do you mean you're not conscious? Sometimes I am just a conduit. I just write what comes into my head, and I can't tell you where it comes from. One of the songs, my favorite song that I've written, is called "Just My Other Side," and that song I wrote 2 or 3 years ago. I had moved out from where I lived. I lived for 30 years. I had moved into an old cabin, and I had no furniture. There was an old wooden chair, which I still have, on the porch. I carried it inside. I built a fire in the wood stove, and I sat down in front of the wood stove. I was exhausted, and when I woke up, I was holding my notebook, and I had written this song. But to this day, I am not conscious of having written this song. And I love it because it reintroduced me to a couple of characters that I already had written some things about, and I write about them all time. All the time, it's a couple of serially reincarnated beings that they come back, they find each other, and then one of them dies, and so I get some good songs out of their dying, and I love the expression on your face when I was saying that, Christy. But it's true, and
Yeah.
and I know these characters. They're friends of mine. They exist in my mind, and I write about them all the time. I've probably got a dozen songs about them, and they're just they live with me. I'm starting to sound crazy now, but that's
Nah,
okay.
nah.
Nah, not at all. I even
So
have, I still have that very first CD that you sent to me, and it's still in my playlist library, and I'm looking forward to adding your new ones as well.
I'm
You-
working on them. I've been working on one song, and it may be the best song I've ever written, but it's been so hard to do the music for it for me because I want to make sure it's right,
Hmm.
and I'm not done with it yet. It's called Crow Whispers, and it's basically an apocalyptic song about the return of the Dark Mother, and she's not happy. She's not happy,
Well,
and so
Something that
that will be on the next little group of songs that I put on Bandcamp. I've got about right now. I've got 6 songs. I'll have a couple more worked up before this goes out, but that will be the main one. Will be Crow Whispers, and I just really like the imagery in the song, and it's another one that I sat down and it just started flowing, and in 12 minutes, 15 minutes, it was done, and then it's taken me a month to get the music put together.
Wow.
Those are the ones that usually do really, really well. They're the ones that, like, as we call it in the writing one, those are the ones that are given to us by the muse.
Yes.
Everything else we're just kind of trying to pull from our own experiences. The ones that you're not conscious of when those come to you, those are the ones that are, yeah, those are the ones bringing the messages. So thanks for putting them out there. That's a way for us, those of us not writing the song, to understand the messages that are coming across.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's a blessing. Sometimes it's a curse, especially if I'm driving down the interstate when it hits me, because I can't remember, and that's a terrible thing for a musician, to not be able to remember. And people ask me sometimes when I'm doing a show, they say, "Well, why are you reading your stuff off of the music stand?" Because I can't remember anything. It's not my age. I have never been able to remember my own songs. Now, if you wanted to hear some old crappy country song or southern rock song from back in the 70s or 80s, I can remember the words to those, but I cannot remember the words to my own songs. And I know that's some kind of block that I have, but it's there.
Hmm. Well,
But I know all the words to Freebird.
that's an important one to know too.
That's what you open up with, and then you go into your stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah."
I very rarely do covers anymore. I have so many songs of mine that I want to share
Mm-hmm.
that I just I don't have a lot of time for covers unless it's specifically for a reason. Back home, I would get calls, and somebody would tell me, said, "Well, Uncle Eddie died. Can you come and sing that song? Not that song, but that song." And they wanted to hear the Vince Gill song, because I did that at a funeral one day. I was asked to do it, and I did it, so it became a thing that I sang High on the Mountain. And I don't like to do the song because it's very hard to do that in that situation and not tear
Right.
up.
Yep.
Right.
It's very hard. I had a friend died. His wife asked me to come and sing that song, and I broke on the last chorus. My voice broke, and I made it through the song. But I had several of these, and these were bikers. This was a biker funeral. These guys come up whacking me on the back, and how much they enjoyed that, and that one of the things was that I wasn't just singing, that they knew I really felt it, and I did, but I don't like to do covers, and I particularly don't like to be put in a situation where I may
Right.
break down doing a song. That's not a manly thing, but it happens. So I've just been yakking nonstop. You want to ask me anything?
Well, let's see. I did have something that come to mind here just a second ago. Um, oh shoot! Okay, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Um,
Did it jump the track?
yeah, it definitely jumped the track. Oh, I know what I was going to say. In our conversation with Brian Henke just not too long ago, he kind of said something along the same thing. Is that half the time he doesn't remember the name of the song that he wrote, and he can remember the lyrics and all, but he says, "I don't know the name of this song. I know it's mine. We're just going to go with it."
He does
I
that.
think that's that's another problem, is trying to remember the name of the song. And when you were asking me about those songs earlier, I was like, "Well, is that? Yeah, that's the song." No, no, let's not do that. But it's a thing, and I know it has to do with age. I'm no spring chicken, but as I said, this is not something that's just crept up on me in the last couple of years. I have just never been able to remember the words to my songs, and I was writing songs back when I was a teenager. Couldn't remember them then either.
That's the muse. The muse remembers.
I guess she does. I assume it's a she.
Well, yeah, and in most cases, yes.
Could be.
So now, we do have one song that we are going to be playing here for everybody today. We've got Magic All Around Us. So, what's the story behind this one?
Back in the 80s, I was taking people on a lot of horseback trips, pack trips, and stuff. That was part of what I did on the farm. And I had just had it with taking people out. So I packed up a horse, saddled a horse, and I rode up onto the mountain, set up camp, and a terrible storm was blowing in. So there was a lot of wind, and the clouds were blowing across the moon. And I had a fire going in an old fire circle that had been there forever. It had been there so long that the stones had begun to sink into the ground. And I had a fire, and just the feeling that night, the magic in the air was tangible. And I was like, I need to write this down. I'm on a pack trip. I have no pencil. I have no and I did find a pencil and the wrapper off something that I had there, and I wrote down very sketchily the catch to it. And then after I got home, I sat down with it, and it just bam came out. And I like this song. It's got a good feeling, but it has a message. So that's the story. But it wasn't something I sat down at a desk or a computer station and wrote. I was up on the mountain. And there's your story.
And a lot of times, that's the way a song will come to most singers, songwriters, musicians when they're either out and about. They may be out in the woods. They may be up on a mountaintop like you were, and especially I can just see it where if that fire circle had been there for that long a time, there had to have been a lot of stories set around that fire.
Yes. And that's one of the things, a lot of people who hike and camp and stuff, we try to use already established fire circles so as we're not constantly building and blackening rocks. You try to stay in an established place so as not to disrupt the area any more than you can. So I always, when I was in that area camping, stayed in that spot. And it was just that particular night, the feeling with the moon and the storm blowing in, it was heavy in the air. And I felt it immensely. So.
Excellent. All right, this is called Magic All Around Us.
Some say the veil is ripped and torn, that the tower card has been laid down. Ground yourself, don't be afraid, because there's magic all around. There's magic all around us. The magic, it surrounds us. There's magic all around. Magic isn't black or white. We're all together here tonight. Feel the power, hold on tight. Because there's magic in the air. There's magic all around us. The magic, it surrounds us. There's magic all around us. There's magic all around. There's magic all around us. The magic, it surrounds us. There's magic all around us. There's magic all around. Breathe it in. Breathe it in, breathe it in. Feel the power in the air. Breathe it in, breathe it in, breathe it in. There's magic in the air. There's magic in the air.
That was a good song, and I could actually see the visuals for that. I could actually envision you sitting on the beside that fire circle and doing that song.
I I feel that song, and I'm glad you like it.
Yep, I actually do. Now on the guitar solo for that one, were you doing that one, or was somebody playing that guitar solo?
No, everything that you hear on that is me,
Okay.
Wow.
and I I'm a poor musician. I can't afford to pay people to come and play with me. And
Um,
so if I have to have an instrument on something, I have to play it myself.
Well, and there's something that's perfectly acceptable because that's the way that a lot of our musicians are. They will do everything themselves if they possibly can do that, um, and especially for the ones that had been touring for a long time but have decided to just stay to home and spend that time writing a bunch of songs and doing the mixing right there in your own home.
Yeah, and that's my studio. It's just a little corner here in my tiny house. I say house, tiny cabin, and I have to work everything out. I have to have two different setups because I have to have a setup to practice and a setup to record, and they're different.
Hmm.
And one of my friends from back home, he had listened to that CD that song, and he's like, okay. He said, I went back and he said, I looked at this. He said, I know that you said you played all the instruments on that, but he said you don't play piano, and it's like I didn't let that stop me. There's a song, there's a couple of songs that I did put some piano on, but one, and again, I'm missing the title in my mind. I'll be Brian for a minute, but it's 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 a piano song, and he was kind of put out. He's a piano player, and he said you don't play piano, and he said that's really good. So well, I didn't let it stop me, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a
We could go ahead, Lewis. Go ahead.
well, there's an old story. You know who Chet Atkins was, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Chet Atkins was asked once, said, "Can you read music?" And he said, "Yeah, but not enough to affect my playing." And I feel kind of that way about it. This is just because I can't play an instrument doesn't mean that I won't play it.
Right.
Sometimes I shouldn't play it, but I do anyway. Does this
Perfectly
song really
understandable.
need those? Does this song really need those strings? Probably not, but
Just getting them.
like I didn't say,
Yeah, we'll go with that anyway. Okay,
that's
now
it.
we've got Sencha Skeen tuning in, and because he's an old time musician, singer, songwriter, just like you. And he said he asked if you mind if he linked you to their orders website on the music section, which is Black Mountain Druid order.com.
That would be fabulous. And by the way, Cincha, I just got through listening to the song that you put up on line yesterday or the day before, and I really liked it. I might have even mentioned that on the post,
Look at
but
this,
it's
Earl.
it's
Connecting people. It's what we
Yep.
do.
it was
Uh,
it was really cool, and I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
and then Patricia said that guitar riff was out of this world.
Thank you, Patricia.
Well, and then let's see. Plus, we also need to mention that yes, you are a nominee up on the International Pagan Music Awards as well now for this year.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of talented people out there in the IPMA. Sure are.
I know there are, and I'm gonna be wishing you all the best with that. And we'll have to wait and see who's gonna come out on top of this because there is so many this year. It's like it's gonna be hard to figure out because I think everybody deserves an award. That's just me.
Well, I agree with you.
That's to me, every musician in our community, they deserve an award for what they're doing and for the music that they're writing. And because every piece of music that comes out tells stories, just like what yours does.
Yes, it does. And one of the things about being a musician, and I'm not complaining because the last up until COVID, I was very happy with the way things were going. But being a musician is like being a painter or any other kind of artist. You can make a little money at it unless you break that certain level. But there's a level where you have this thing where it's like, well, would you mind coming and playing at our event? You're only like 400 miles away, and we can't pay you, but you'll get exposure.
I'll
Yeah, well,
be
you
like,
know what? The electric company will not take exposure. I know they don't.
They won't
uh,
So
take they won't take
w-
books and they won't take CDs either.
no, we have to scrape by on what we can get playing at events and on what we can sell. And it's hard to ask people for money. It really for stuff like this. If I make something, like one of the things that I do when I'm doing an event, I have a table set up, of course, and I make bracelets, and I sell bracelets, and lots of times I make more money selling the bracelets than I do selling CDs or selling music for that, because it's something tangible that I don't mind asking somebody to lay out for. But to ask somebody for money for an intellectual property, you know, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to give you my song, but you need to give me $1. And out of that dollar, I'll get 75 cents because, Bandcamp has to have their cut.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's the way the world works. And people value substance more than they do ideas most of the time. And I'm not knocking it. I'm just speaking the truth.
Oh yeah, I know that, and that's the one thing that people in the community just don't really understand is that when you're asking a musician to play an event, um, and granted, I know that a lot of our festivals and such don't have a lot of money, and but yet I just feel it's not right to be asking our musicians to play for free and having them travel, especially extended distance. It's like you have to compensate them.
Exactly. And I've got a promoter whose name I will not mention, but a few years ago asked me for me to come and do an event. And when I gave them the price, they never ever got back in touch with me. And I ran into the guy at an event, and he avoided me. And I wasn't unreasonable in the price. It was just a matter of, it was a long way, and he thought I should come and do it for exposure. And I can't do that. Nobody
Right.
can afford to do that.
No,
And
not in this age.
it's just me, so I don't have to split my money with anybody else like people who have a
Hmm.
band. And I feel for people who have 4 or 5 or 8 people in their group that are trying to just break even.
Right.
And it is so hard, and people don't understand. I said, well, could you come and play at our place in Maine? Well, these people that have got a bunch of people in a band, they can't afford to their travel and just feeding themselves. And then and getting there, you play for an hour, 2 hours, you get your money and maybe sell some music, and you got to turn around and drive back. And gas ain't cheap.
Nope, that's true.
So I'm
Your
I'm
time is
very
valuable
blessed.
too. Yeah. Your time is valuable too. I
It
think that's
is.
kind of something that's overlooked in the general population when it comes to musicians, writers, artists of all types. The time that we put into the work that we create has value.
It does. And
So that
and
that
we ain't
seems to
getting
be
any younger.
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That's very true. That's very true. Now, Edward Sott, who's a friend of mine, a friend of ours, he's also a fellow singer, songwriter, musician, and he says if I play for one or play for 1,000, as long as I touch one person, I've touched the universe.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of that energy exchange. And that's one of the things that I have always enjoyed about playing, is if you get up in front of people, and it's like he said, if it's one person, or if it's 1,000, that exchange of energy is something you cannot describe unless you have experienced it. There are not words to describe it, but it is a magical thing.
That it is. Now, how many? Let's see. How many songs are you working on right now?
since COVID started and there's no events, I have written close to 40 songs. And by that, I'm talking about songs that I would actually perform for someone. I've written several more. But the group that I'm working on recording right now, there's 6 songs that I have started, a couple of them that are done, maybe. And I still need to work up 2 more. I like to put 8 out at a time. I don't know why. It just seems like the right number. But when I do release this stuff, and I'm hoping to do that in the next 10, 12 days, there will be 8 songs. And there, like I said, the main one will be Crow Whispers, and they'll be mostly pagan stuff, although there's a couple of them that got some country overtones in them.
Okay.
Do you have a release date for that next album set?
No. 8 or 10 days. That's the best I can do. I will be out on Facebook and everywhere that I'm possibly can be heard, letting people know that it's out there. It's available on Bandcamp, and I need your money desperately.
All right.
All
right.
We'll definitely be getting.
I am not a stranger to shameless self-promotion. And
I think we all have to be that way.
We have to be that way to a certain extent.
To a certain extent, yeah.
You know, I'm very happy with the stuff that I've gotten so far. Aside from Crow Whispers, I have another song I really like called Dread Persephone, and it's kind of a country pagan. She's the most powerful being in the universe song, but I like it, and it's just it's eclectic. You know, I write country sounding stuff and the stuff like that we just listened to, Magic All Around, and I don't have a set formula that I use as far as music and stuff goes. I get the words down most of the time by themselves, and then I go back and I do them over and over, just sitting looking at them, reading them, singing them, seeing what comes out, and try to work out what music I think should go with those words. I don't know if that's what everybody else does, but that's what I do. And occasionally I'll have that song that I write, and I have the music in my head when I'm writing the song, but that's rare.
So they don't both come to you at the same time?
Not all the time, no. It's you know, Chris Christopherson wrote, he said, "I'm a poet, I'm a picker," and that's what he meant. You know, the songs were not songs; they were poetry. And I'm a big fan of Chris Christopherson. He's one of the greatest country songwriters that has existed. Him and Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton. I love Dolly. Dolly should be president. We'd be so much better off.
Amen.
And she should have been the person of the year for Time Magazine instead of Elon Musk.
Yeah,
because she's done a whole lot more for humanity than he'll ever do.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Speaking of some of our country artists, have you heard the basically it's the new release from the grandkids from Loretta and Conway?
I read that they were doing, I think, a remake of Louisiana Man.
Yep.
I haven't heard it.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Cool. I don't listen to music. It's very rare that I will listen to anybody's music unless I'm at an event and somebody else is playing, because I'm so afraid, so desperately afraid that something that somebody sings will stick in my head and show up in one of my songs. And I just cannot take the thought of that, because I would never steal a line from anyone.
Right.
And so if I don't listen to somebody else's songs, I don't have to worry about, picking up a line somewhere.
Right.
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 Patricia wants to know who'd you say would be your musical muse?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Is
Uh,
she talking about like a real person or the goddess slash demon that I get my ideas from?
Let's go with an answer to both. Is it the same person? Is it two different personas?
I I have a hard time answering that question. I get a lot of ideas from things that I see in the world around me, and I give credit to the goddess for that. My dreams that I get ideas for songs for, some of which I can't really ever sing. Uh, those come from darker places. And if you've listened to my music, there's a lot of darkness there because
mhm.
that's where a lot of the stuff comes from, and a lot of that comes from dreams and from visions. This will come as a shock to you because I know I'm like a clean cut business guy looking kind of guy, but over the years, there have been illegal substances, and so I think my mind might have been affected just a little bit, and so I don't think linearly all the time, and
Gotcha.
so some of the stuff that I write, as I say, the darkness is a huge factor. As a matter of fact, the genre, what I call my music, is dark Americana, and because I feel that that's what it is, and it's not all pagan music. It's like I said, it's some little bit of what I play as country music. I just relearned how to play an alternating bass here recently, and it's been 40 years since I did that.
Uh,
Plus, I think you also add a little bit of the Appalachia music in with it as well.
Well, it's a historical thing. I've got a song called Dark Riders. I don't know if you've ever heard it.
Not
A
yet.
friend of mine who lives in Asheville, she's a witch. Her name is Byron Ballard. Turned
Yep.
me on to a story about the border reivers. And back in the Scottish um, British border, back in the, I think in the, God, I can't even remember now. I won't go to the date, but for over 300 years, the people that lived along both sides of the borders, they fought back and forth with each other. This group would burn this group's barn, and this group would come over and burn the crops, and this group would steal the sheep. This went on for over 300 years. And finally, the king, he said, I'm not having any more. And so these miscreants, the border reivers, were some of the first people that got loaded up and shipped over to the New World. And they got to the coastal areas in South Carolina, for instance, and this just was a horrible, alien, flat, swampy area, and they didn't want to be there. So they moved west, and they got to the Appalachians, and it was like they were home. And if you believe the theory of Pangea, which is not just a theory, it actually is the same mountains that split up when the continents divided. That they got half of them, we got the other half. So it's the same mountain. So of course it felt like home. And I tell people about this. I said, those are my ancestors. They were the people that were the miscreants that they didn't want, so they sent them over here. And my other ancestors were here watching these white people when they got here. So that's a basis of where a lot of the music that you hear, Celtic music, country music, it all stems from those people who came over, and they brought their fiddles, and they brought their lutes, and they brought their drums, and they lost their minds and began playing country music. So that's the entire history of Appalachian music in 2 minutes.
Nice.
That's a good explanation of
It's
it.
great.
I mean,
Wait,
anytime
wait.
that I'm hearing a Appalachian style music, I don't. It just it resonates. It really does.
Well,
And
one of the
let's see, Sencha has he said he went ahead and added you to their music page, so that people can hear your music on their site as well.
thank you, Cincha. I appreciate that.
Let's talk about your upcoming events. We're about to have to wrap for the hour. It's gone by so quickly. I want to get out there that you've got a couple of important dates coming up.
I do. Have to look at my paper here because, like song lyrics, I can't remember them either. But the April 9th and 10th, I will be at the Enchanted Metaphysical and Mystics Market event in Clarksville, Arkansas. I'll be there. My dear friend, singer songwriter Krista Chapman Green will also be there. We'll be playing. It's going to be a
Hmm.
really good time. And then in May, the 26th through the 30th, we will be playing at Harmony in the Hollow event in Russellville, Arkansas. And it's a pagan event. It's also an LGBT friendly event. And, there'll be a couple of bands there whose names I do not know because one of them is a rock band. I don't know what the other one are. And I apologize. Earthbone, that's one of the bands. But the Krista Chapman Green will also be appearing there, and we're gonna have a good time. Now I've got a couple of other tentative dates, which I'm not gonna say at this time, and then got stuff scheduled in October for Nashville Pagan Pride and an event in Florida. And right now, those are the only for sure dates that I have. So I'm open.
All right.
Very cool.
I have
Well,
guitars. I do travel.
let's say now, once you get down to Florida, um, make sure you holler at Gina.
Oh, I will. I absolutely will. You know you do know she broke
Yep.
her arm.
Yeah, I
Bless her
do.
heart. I love her to death. She is one of the first pagan artists that I met when I started playing pagan music. And she welcomed me just like we had known each other all our life. We got together the first
Yep.
night we met and played for a couple of hours. And, I have so much respect and love for her. And I want her to get better. I want to see her out there on the road. So,
Yeah, she has been through so much, but she's a fantastic lady. Basically, she and I have crossed paths several times at festivals up here in Iowa, actually. So it's like it always makes me happy to see her. And if you ever get the chance to come up this way, you're welcome here anytime.
well, I'm a whole lot closer now than I was when I lived in East Tennessee.
Yeah, yes,
It's
that you
it's
are.
it's pretty much a straight shot north now. So you get something going up there. I as I said, I have guitars and I will travel.
Well, and I'll make sure that we take care of you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Now, let's see. Okay, a couple other comments here. Yeah, Patricia said that you need to travel to Texas.
Yeah, go all the way to
All,
California and hit Utah
all
on
I
the way.
all I
Yeah.
need is a paycheck. I'll be there.
All right. So now we've got some of your links that we're going to be posting up here. Like you said, um, you've got your Bandcamp, which is your main one that you get most all your music on, so that people can go and listen to your music there at Bandcamp. Um, Disregard the YouTube link because that was not put up by him. So, um, yeah, you just recently found out about that one. Somebody else had put it up. So, Uh, be sure to hit your Bandcamp and then, whoops, wrong link. That was for the Metaphysical Times, and there's one
You'll be
for
able to find information about him and upcoming events and some other things that we're going to talk
right.
about after the show at Metaphysical Time. So yeah, that was okay.
Yep. So basically, here again, yep. Check out Metaphysical Times newspaper. That is now Christie's baby, and she's going to be adding a lot to that. And then also, Iowa Pagan News is also a now a charter member of the Pagan Rights Coalition, and you can find them at that link there. That's everything that they stand for. And then, last but not least, be sure to check out our merchandise page that we have at our website at iapnradio.net, and where you can pick up T-shirts, you can pick up a hoodie. I'll be adding some tote bags to that here shortly, and I'll make sure that I have those with me at festival season as well, which I'm hoping to get out on the road. And hopefully one of these days I'll be able to cross paths with you there, Lewis.
Well, I hope so. I I hope we can. If I have time for one quick plug, if anybody
Sure.
wants to friend me on Facebook and you want to buy a hard copy CD, you can do that. I have them, and I will mail them to you. So I have two CDs available. I have more than two, but I have two named CDs, and just send me something on Facebook. I'm easy to find. I
Excellent.
really appreciate you having me on. It was nice to meet you, Christy.
Nice to meet
It
you
sounds
too,
weird
Lewis.
telling somebody it's nice to meet them when they're hundreds of miles away, but
You
it
know,
was nice to meet you. It's good to,
that's the reason why we've got technology so that we can do that now. And but yeah, meeting in person is always the best route, and you form that connection with somebody. But yeah, hopefully one of these days all that will
Earl
come
and I
together.
have yet Earl and I have
well,
yet to meet in person. So
Right.
it was good to talk to you again, Earl.
Now it's good to talk with you as well, there, Lewis. And I'll definitely be staying in touch with you and supporting you as much as I possibly can.
Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. You've been listening to another edition of Iowa Pagan News on the Prairie Land Radio Network with Pagan Artist Spotlight and our special guest, Louis Garou. Be sure to check out his music at Bandcamp. You can contact him on Facebook, and I'd be more than happy to share his music with you. As always, keep everyone around you safe. Like you said, up here in the Midwest, we're experiencing snowstorms. So just kind of stay inside for the next couple of days just to play it safe. Pleasant journeys, everyone, and we will see you again next week right here at Prairie Land Radio Network.